Earth's skies looked empty to most people, but they were wrong. Hidden by special technology, a spaceship from the Caldarian Empire washed our planet. No human could see this ship. It stayed silent, observing everything we did. Commander Park sat in his command chair on this hidden ship. He looked at screens showing Earth's simple rockets and satellites. A smile crossed his face as he watched another human rocket fail on its launch pad. "These humans are so primitive," he said to himself. "They can barely reach their own moon." Commander Park had been watching Earth for 3 years now. The Caldarian Empire ruled over thousands of planets across the galaxy. Earth was just one more world they planned to take. Another failed launch. Commander Park reported to his leaders back at Imperial Center. His voice sounded bored. "These humans cannot even maintain a proper orbital station. Their International Space Station requires constant repairs." The Caldarian Empire had existed for over 10,000 years. They believed it was their right to rule all intelligent species. Some planets joined willingly, trading freedom for protection and technology. Others resisted and were conquered by force. The Caldarians didn't care which path Earth chose. The result would be the same. "Continue monitoring," ordered Admiral Rio, Park's superior. "We will send the diplomatic team soon." What the Caldarians didn't know was that humans had kept a secret from them. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a hidden base built inside an underwater mountain, Captain Kim Hanna stood watching a massive ship take form. Unlike the rockets the Caldarians observed, this vessel represented Earth's true technological capabilities. The underwater facility hummed with activity. Engineers and scientists worked around the clock on Project Thunderbolt. The ship itself stretched nearly a kilometer in length, its dark hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Captain Kim walked along the main engineering deck, her footsteps echoing on the metal walkway. At 42 years old, she had spent the last decade leading this secret project. Her black hair, streaked with gray, was pulled back tightly. Her eyes missed nothing as she inspected the work. "Captain Kim, we've stabilized the reactor core," called Engineer Lee from below. He was a young man, brilliant with energy systems. "The phase drive is operating within parameters." Captain Kim nodded. "Good. We need everything perfect." The Thunderbolt wasn't built using only human technology. Over the past 30 years, 3 alien spacecraft had crashed on Earth. Governments had kept these crashes secret from the public. Teams of scientists had studied the wrecks, learning new physics and engineering that went far beyond human knowledge. "How long until we can test the weapon systems?" Captain Kim asked. Engineer Lee checked his tablet. 3 days if we push the schedule." "Push it," she ordered. "I have a feeling we won't have much time." She was right. That same day, a Caldarian ship dropped its cloaking technology and appeared over Seoul, South Korea. Unlike Commander Park's observation vessel, this ship wanted to be seen. It was massive, covering the sky above the city with its dark shape. People stopped and stared upward in shock and fear. The ship broadcast a message in perfect Korean, then repeated it in every major language on Earth. "People of Earth, the Caldarian Empire extends an invitation to join our galactic community. Your representatives will meet with our diplomatic team to discuss integration terms." World leaders gathered quickly in an emergency United Nations session. The invitation wasn't really a choice. The Caldarian ship had easily disabled Earth's most advanced fighter jets when they approached. Their technology was clearly far beyond anything publicly available on Earth. In the UN meeting, President Choi of South Korea spoke with a grim face. "The Caldarian ambassador, a being called Tal, has made their position clear. We join them willingly, or they force our compliance." "We cannot fight such technology," said another leader. What these leaders didn't know was that 5 of them had been secretly briefed about Project Thunderbolt years earlier. These 5 exchanged glances across the room. They had funded the secret project for exactly this situation. Prime Minister Han of Japan pressed a hidden button under the table. This signaled the underwater base that first contact had occurred. The Thunderbolt needed to be ready. Back in the underwater base, alarms sounded. Captain Kim gathered her senior team. "It's happening," she announced. "The Kildarians have made contact." Engineer Lee looked nervous. "But we need more time for testing." "Time is something we don't have," Captain Kim replied. "The phase drive works. The shield system works. We'll have to trust that the weapons will work too." The Kildarian diplomatic vessel landed in Seoul's Olympic Stadium. Ambassador To, tall and humanoid but clearly alien with blue-tinted skin and 4 arms, met with Earth's representatives. His smile never reached his eyes. "You have 1 month to prepare for integration," Tal announced. "This is most generous. We usually allow only 2 weeks." The human representatives pretended to negotiate terms, asking for more time, requesting details about what integration would mean. This was all for show. They were buying time for the Thunderbolt. Deep under the Pacific, Captain Kim selected her crew. Only 23 humans would operate the massive vessel. Each was specially trained on the alien technologies. "If we fail," she told them during their final briefing, "Earth falls under Kildarian control forever. If we succeed, we show them that humans aren't easy targets." The Thunderbolt's engines powered up for the first time. The massive ship rose silently through a hidden underwater tunnel. It would emerge at night, far from any observers. Commander Park, still watching Earth from his cloaked ship, had no idea what was about to happen. The humans he thought were primitive had a surprise waiting. The Kildarian Empire had overlooked Earth's true potential, and that mistake would cost them dearly. As the Thunderbolt broke the ocean's surface under the cover of darkness, Captain Kim gave her first command. "Set course for the Kildarian observation vessel. Let's introduce ourselves." The Kildarian Ambassador Tal stood before the United Nations Security Council. His blue skin shimmered under the bright lights. The 4 arms of his species were folded across his chest in what humans would later learn was a gesture of superiority, not respect. 1 month, Tal announced to the grim-faced world leaders. "Your world will then be formally incorporated into the Empire. Resistance is inadvisable." Several leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Russian president leaned forward. "And if we require more time to prepare our people?" Tal's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "Then we shall help your people understand more quickly. The Empire has done this many times. The transition can be smooth or difficult." He paused. "I'm sure you prefer smooth." After Tal left, 5 world leaders remained in the chamber. The doors were locked, and electronic jammers were activated to prevent any listening devices from working. "Is it ready?" asked the President of China. President Choi of South Korea nodded. "Operation Thunderbolt is in its final phase, but we need to inform the others about what we've been doing." The room grew tense as they revealed the truth to leaders who had been kept in the dark. For 10 years, a secret coalition had been building Earth's defense system using recovered alien technology. 3 days later, 20 world leaders gathered in an underground bunker beneath the Swiss Alps. The room was simple: concrete walls, basic chairs, and a large screen at the front. Captain Kim Hanna stood before them in her dark blue uniform. She looked tired but determined. "The Kildarians think we are primitive," Captain Kim began. "They've seen our public space program and believe that's all we have. They don't know about the Thunderbolt." She pressed a button, and the screen showed a massive ship unlike anything humans had publicly built. It was sleek and dark, with no visible engines or weapons. "This isn't just a ship," explained Captain Kim. "It's a completely new approach to space combat. Our quantum phasing drive allows us to partially exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." The American president frowned. "And this gives us an advantage." "The Kildarians can't hit what they can't properly perceive," replied Engineer Lee, standing next to Captain Kim. He was younger than her, with excitement in his eyes. "Their sensors will struggle to maintain a lock on our ship." "It sounds theoretical," said the German Chancellor. "It's not," Captain Kim replied. "We've been testing components for years. The full system is operational. The British Prime Minister leaned forward. "You're suggesting we fight the Kildarian Empire?" Their ambassador made it clear they have conquered thousands of worlds. "We're suggesting we demonstrate that Earth isn't defenseless," Captain Kim corrected. "The Kildarians respect strength. Right now, they see us as weak." The leaders debated for hours. Some wanted to accept Kildarian rule, hoping to negotiate better terms. Others believed that fighting was hopeless. Finally, President Choi spoke up. "We have a chance to test the Thunderbolt without starting a war," he said. "The Kildarian observation ship is still in orbit, watching us. If we can disable it without destroying it, we prove our capability without seeming too threatening." The vote was close, 11-9 in favor of testing the Thunderbolt. That night, Captain Kim addressed her crew aboard the massive ship as it hid in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. "Today we take our first real step into space," she told them. "Not as explorers, but as defenders of our world." The crew of 23 took their positions. Each had trained for years for this moment. The ship's interior was unlike conventional spacecraft. No cramped quarters or bulky controls. Instead, smooth surfaces housed advanced interfaces based on the alien technology. "Preparing to surface," announced Navigator Bake, his fingers dancing over the controls. The massive underwater doors above them slid open. Water cascaded down as the Thunderbolt rose silently into the night air. No rockets, no fire, no sound, just the hum of the quantum drive as it powered up. "Phase drive online," reported Engineer Lee from his station. "Operating at 20% capacity." Captain Kim settled into her command chair. "Take us to orbit." Stealth protocols active. The ship accelerated upward, passing through clouds without disturbing them. On radar screens around the world, nothing appeared. The Thunderbolt was already partially phased, existing between dimensions. In orbit, Commander Park of the Kildarian observation vessel was recording another day of human activities. His cloaked ship had been watching Earth for years, completely undetected by conventional human technology. "Nothing unusual to report," he noted in his log. "Their primitive satellites continue their predictable orbits." An alarm suddenly blared on his bridge. "Unknown energy signature detected," called out his sensor officer. "But I can't get a clear reading." Commander Park jumped to his feet. "Impossible. Full scan." Before he could give another order, the Thunderbolt appeared directly in front of his vessel. The human ship was massive, 3 times the size of his observation craft. "Kildarian vessel," Captain Kim's voice came through their communication system. "This is Captain Kim Hana of Earth Ship Thunderbolt. Please power down your weapon systems." Commander Park's face showed shock, then anger. "Humans do not have this technology. You are using stolen Empire equipment." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target and fire." The Kildarian ship's weapons powered up, targeting systems locking onto the Thunderbolt. But the human vessel shimmered slightly, the quantum phase drive shifting it partially out of normal space. "Target lost," shouted the Kildarian weapons officer. "I can't maintain a lock." "Firing disabling pulse," announced weapons officer Jin aboard the Thunderbolt. A wave of energy, invisible to the naked eye, flowed from the human ship. It washed over the Kildarian vessel, disrupting its power systems. The lights on the alien ship flickered and died. Commander Park stared in disbelief as his ship's systems shut down one by one. He never even managed to send a warning to the Empire before his communication system failed. Captain Kim's voice came through the emergency backup speakers on the Kildarian bridge. "Consider this a demonstration. Earth is not defenseless. We seek peace, but we are prepared for alternatives." The Thunderbolt shifted again, disappearing from the Kildarian's view as it returned to Earth. Behind it floated the disabled Kildarian ship, its crew still alive but powerless to act. When Captain Kim landed the Thunderbolt back at its underwater base, Earth's leaders were waiting. Their faces showed a mixture of hope and fear. "It worked," Captain Kim told them simply. "They never saw us coming." President Choi nodded slowly. "Then we have a chance. But the Empire will not be happy when they learn what happened to their observation ship. No, agreed Captain Kim. They won't. We should prepare for their response. The news reached the Keldarian Empire quickly. Their observation ship had been disabled by Earth technology that should not exist. The Imperial Council met in their grand hall on the distant world of Keldar Prime. Massive crystal columns rose to the ceiling. The council members, all high-ranking Keldarians with blue skin of various shades, sat at a circular table. Impossible, shouted Council Member Wrath. These humans were barely reaching their moon. Admiral Kang stood silently in the center of the room. He was older than most Keldarians, with dark blue skin and eyes that had seen many battles. The Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds under his command. It seems they have been hiding their true capabilities, said the head counselor. This cannot be tolerated. Perhaps we should study them more carefully, suggested a younger council member. If they have such technology. No, interrupted Admiral Kang. His voice was deep and carried across the chamber. If we hesitate, other worlds might get similar ideas. We must respond with overwhelming force. The council voted unanimously. Admiral Kang would lead a battle fleet to Earth and demonstrate the consequences of defying the Keldarian Empire. 2 days later, Admiral Kang stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Dominator. Around him, a fleet of 30 vessels prepared to depart. Each ship was a marvel of Keldarian engineering, armed with weapons that could destroy entire cities. These primitives will understand their place, Admiral Kang informed his captains during their final briefing. We will target their major cities first. Once they see their largest population centers destroyed, they will surrender. Captain Yun, one of his younger officers, looked concerned. What about the ship that disabled our observation vessel? The humans call it Thunderbolt. Admiral Kang smiled coldly. One ship against 30. Even with stolen technology, they cannot hope to win. Our scientists believe they somehow obtained a phase drive from a crashed Imperial scout ship, but they cannot possibly understand how to use it properly. The Keldarian fleet departed, entering faster than light travel toward the Sol system. They would arrive in 6 days. On Earth, the warning from Commander Park's disabled ship had given humans valuable information. The Keldarians were coming, and they were angry. In the underwater base, activity reached frantic levels. Captain Kim stood in the main engineering bay of the Thunderbolt, reviewing final modifications with Engineer Lee. The phase drive performed perfectly, said Engineer Lee. But we need more than one ship to face their fleet. Captain Kim nodded. Show me the decoys. They walked to another massive hangar where 5 smaller vessels were being completed. Each looked similar to the Thunderbolt, but was only 1/3 the size. Each decoy has enough of our technology to register as a threat on Keldarian sensors, explained Engineer Lee. But none has the full capabilities of the Thunderbolt. And the crews? Asked Captain Kim. Minimal. 5 people each, enough to operate the basic systems. Earth's leaders had provided all available resources. Factories worldwide had shifted to war production. Scientists shared research freely. For the first time in human history, there were no borders, no competing nations, just humans preparing to defend their world. 4 days before the Keldarian fleet's arrival, Captain Kim addressed the combined crews of all 6 vessels. 100 people stood before her in the underwater base's main assembly hall. You all know what's coming, she said. Her voice was calm but serious. 30 Keldarian warships against our 6 vessels. The odds don't look good. A nervous laugh rippled through the crowd. But the Keldarians don't understand what they're facing, continued Captain Kim. They expect us to beg for mercy when they arrive. They expect us to be afraid. She paused. Instead, we'll show them what happens when you underestimate humans. The crews cheered. They were scared, all of them, but they were also determined. The 6 ships departed the underwater base together. They took position in a high Earth orbit, waiting. The world below held its breath. Most people had been told about the coming threat. Many had moved to underground shelters. Others stayed in their homes, watching the skies. The first sign of the Kildarian fleet came from the research outpost on Mars. The small base had been established 3 years earlier, with 20 scientists studying the red planet. Kildarian ships have entered the system, came the emergency transmission. At least 30 vessels. There, the transmission cut off. Earth's long-range sensors showed what happened. The Kildarian fleet destroyed the Mars base with a single shot, not even slowing down as they continued toward Earth. Next came the mining operation on Phobos, one of Mars' moons. 53 people worked there, extracting rare metals. "They're targeting us," came the panicked message. "We're not military. We're just miners." The transmission ended in static. Captain Kim watched from the Thunderbolt's bridge as the Kildarian fleet methodically destroyed every human outpost in the outer system. The Jupiter research station, the Saturn orbital platform, all gone. "They're sending a message," she said quietly. The Kildarian fleet split into 3 groups as they passed the moon. One group destroyed the lunar base, killing the 30 people stationed there. The other 2 groups continued toward Earth. Admiral Kang's voice broadcast on all Earth frequencies. "People of Earth, you have demonstrated hostility toward the Kildarian Empire. This cannot be tolerated. We will now demonstrate the cost of defiance. After we destroy your major cities, we will accept your surrender. You have 1 hour to evacuate the following locations." He listed 20 cities around the world, including New York, Tokyo, London, Beijing, and Moscow. On the Thunderbolt, Captain Kim turned to her crew. Their faces showed anger and determination. "Prepare phase drives on all vessels," she ordered. "Battle formation Delta. The 5 decoy ships will target their smaller vessels. We'll go after their command ships. They have twice our firepower," warned Navigator Bake. Captain Kim nodded. "Yes, but they can't hit what they can't see properly." The 6 Earth ships activated their phase drives, partially shifting out of normal space. To the Kildarians, they would appear as blurry, inconsistent targets. As the Kildarian fleet moved into position above Earth, ready to begin their attack, the 6 human vessels accelerated toward them. Admiral Kang noticed the approaching ships on his sensors. "So they wish to fight," he said with a smile. "Good. It will make our victory more satisfying." "Sir," said his sensor officer with concern, "I'm having trouble getting clear readings on those ships." Admiral Kang's smile faded slightly. "All ships prepare for battle. Target the Earth vessels and fire when ready." The battle for Earth's future was about to begin. Earth tried to defend itself with what it had. Space stations armed with lasers fired at the Kildarian ships. Missiles launched from ground bases. Fighter jets with special engines flew up to meet the alien vessels. None of it worked. The Kildarian shields stopped everything. People watched from below as bright flashes lit up the sky. Each flash meant another Earth defense had failed. The Kildarian ships moved closer to the planet, preparing to target cities. In his command ship, Admiral Kang smiled as he watched Earth's defenses fail. "Primitive weapons," he said to his officers. "They cannot even touch our shields." 3 large Kildarian destroyer ships moved into position above Beijing. Millions of people lived there. The ship's weapons powered up, glowing with energy that could destroy the entire city in seconds. "Sir," reported a Kildarian officer, "the human vessels are approaching." Admiral Kang looked at his screens. The 6 Earth ships were moving toward his fleet. "Let them come," he said. "After we destroy them, the humans will understand resistance is pointless." Aboard the Thunderbolt, Captain Kim watched the Kildarian ships preparing to fire on Beijing. Her face remained calm, but her hands gripped her chair tightly. "All ships, execute battle plan now," she ordered. "Decoys, target the smaller vessels. Thunderbolt will take the destroyers above Beijing." The 5 decoy ships spread out, each targeting different parts of the Kildarian fleet. The Thunderbolt headed straight for the 3 destroyers. "They're targeting us," reported Weapons Officer Jin. "Their weapons are locking on." "Engaging phase drive," announced Navigator Bake. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. The Thunderbolt's engines hummed louder. The ship shifted partially out of normal space, appearing as little more than a shimmer against the stars. The view screens showed reality becoming slightly blurred as the ship existed in multiple dimensions at once. "Phase drive at maximum," reported Engineer Lee. "We can maintain this state for 40 minutes. The Thunderbolt accelerated, moving impossibly fast toward the Keldarian destroyers. On their sensors, the Keldarians could barely track the human ship. "I can't get a lock," shouted a Keldarian weapons officer. The target keeps shifting. The Thunderbolt slipped between two Keldarian destroyers. Neither could fire without risking hitting the other. "Now," ordered Captain Kim, "activate the Nova Pulse." The Nova Pulse was Earth's greatest secret weapon. Based on technology from the crashed alien ships, it sent out waves of energy that disrupted shield harmonics. It didn't destroy shields directly. It made them unstable. A wave of invisible energy burst from the Thunderbolt. It washed over the two Keldarian destroyers. Their shields flickered, showing patterns of weakness. "Shields are destabilizing," shouted a Keldarian commander. "Reroute power." Before they could fix the problem, hundreds of conventional Earth missiles struck the weakened shields. This time, they broke through. Explosions ripped across the hull of one destroyer. The second destroyer tried to move away but was too slow. The Thunderbolt phased again, appearing behind the third destroyer. Another Nova Pulse fired, and more Earth weapons found their target. Across the battlefield, the 5 decoy ships were doing similar work. Though less powerful than the Thunderbolt, each could phase enough to avoid direct hits while using smaller Nova Pulses to disrupt Keldarian shields. On his command ship, Admiral Kang watched in shock as reports came in. Destroyer Group 3 is under heavy attack. Cruiser 5 has lost shield power. 2 escort ships destroyed. "Impossible," shouted Admiral Kang as reports flooded in. 6 ships lost in the first hour, 10 more in the second. How are they doing this? Their technology shouldn't be this advanced. The Thunderbolt phased in directly in front of Admiral Kang's command ship. For a moment, the two vessels faced each other across space. The human ship was smaller but somehow seemed more dangerous. Captain Kim's voice transmitted across all frequencies. "You came expecting submission. You found resistance instead." The Thunderbolt fired its Nova Pulse at the command ship. Admiral Kang felt his vessel shake as the shields fluctuated. "Return fire," he ordered. "All weapons." But the Thunderbolt had already phased away, moving to another target. The Keldarian weapons hit nothing but empty space. On Earth, people watched the battle through telescopes and on special screens. They saw Keldarian ships exploding or drifting powerless in space. Hope began to spread. In orbit around Earth, the remains of 15 Keldarian ships now drifted. The others tried to regroup, to form a defensive position. "Admiral," reported a senior officer, "we've lost half our fleet. The humans can phase their ships faster than our weapons can target. Our shields cannot withstand their disruption technology." Admiral Kang's face showed rage and disbelief. "We cannot lose to primitives. The Empire has never been defeated." "Sir, they're targeting our engines now," reported another officer. 3 more ships can no longer maneuver." The battle continued for another hour. The Thunderbolt and its decoy ships moved like ghosts through the Keldarian fleet, appearing and disappearing, striking and moving on. Earth's conventional weapons followed behind, hitting ships with weakened shields. More Keldarian vessels fell. Some exploded. Others drifted powerless. A few managed to escape, jumping to faster-than-light travel despite damage to their systems. The Thunderbolt phased in next to a crippled Keldarian cruiser. Captain Kim ordered her crew to board the alien vessel. They found the Keldarian crew inside, stunned that humans had defeated them. "How?" asked the Keldarian captain, looking at the humans in their spacesuits. "How did you develop this technology so quickly?" "You underestimated us," replied Captain Kim. "That was your mistake." By the end of the day, 25 Kildarian ships had been destroyed or disabled. Only 5 remained operational, including Admiral Kang's command ship. The admiral stared at the battle reports in silence. His perfect record of victories was broken. The Empire would not be pleased. "Order all remaining ships to form up," he finally said. "We will make one final attack." But as the 5 remaining ships gathered, they found themselves surrounded. The Thunderbolt and its decoys had positioned themselves around the Kildarian vessels. Earth's conventional weapons were all targeted on them. Captain Kim's voice came through again. "Admiral Kang, you have lost this battle. Surrender your ships or be destroyed." For the first time in his long career, Admiral Kang faced defeat. The mighty Kildarian Empire had been beaten by a planet they had considered primitive. This would change everything. The battle over Earth lasted just 5 hours. When it ended, the mighty Kildarian fleet was no more. 29 warships floated dead in space. Some were completely destroyed, just pieces of metal scattered across Earth's orbit. Others drifted silently, their crews trapped inside without power or weapons. Only one Kildarian ship still worked, Admiral Kang's command vessel. Even it was badly damaged. Its main weapons had failed. Its engines were barely working. Smoke filled many of its rooms. Admiral Kang stood on his bridge, looking at the screens showing the defeat of his fleet. His blue face had turned almost gray with shock. In 300 years of service to the Empire, he had never lost a battle. Until today. "How?" he asked quietly. "How did they defeat us?" His second-in-command had no answer. The human ships had moved like ghosts, appearing and disappearing. The Nova Pulse weapon had made Kildarian shields useless. It was as if the humans had studied Kildarian technology for centuries, not years. The Thunderbolt appeared directly in front of Admiral Kang's ship. It showed no damage at all. The phase drive technology had kept it safe during the entire battle. Inside the Thunderbolt, Captain Kim sat calmly in her command chair. Her crew was tired but happy. They had protected Earth against impossible odds. "Open a channel to Admiral Kang," she ordered. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. His eyes showed anger and disbelief. "These are our terms," Captain Kim transmitted. "Earth remains independent. The Kildarian Empire will recognize our sovereignty and withdraw from our solar system." Admiral Kang stared at her for a long moment. "You cannot believe this is the end. This was just one fleet. The Empire spans thousands of worlds. We have millions of ships. And now they'll all know that size isn't everything," Captain Kim answered. "We destroyed 29 of your 30 ships. Do you want to lose the last one too?" The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "The Empire will return." "Perhaps," Captain Kim replied. "But next time, we'll be better prepared. And maybe your empire will be smaller by then." "What do you mean?" asked Admiral Kang. "We've been broadcasting this battle to the entire galaxy," explained Captain Kim. "Every world under Kildarian control has seen what happened here today. They've seen that the mighty Empire can be defeated." Admiral Kang's face showed real fear for the first time. "If other worlds rebelled." "You have 1 hour to leave our system," Captain Kim said. "After that, we cannot guarantee your safety." The communication ended. Admiral Kang gave the order to retreat. His damaged ship slowly turned away from Earth and limped toward the edge of the solar system. On Earth, people came out of shelters and homes. They looked up at the sky, knowing what had happened above them. For the first time, humanity had faced an alien threat and won. In cities around the world, celebrations began. People danced in streets. Strangers hugged each other. The victory belonged to everyone. The Thunderbolt and its 5 decoy ships returned to Earth. They landed in an open field outside Seoul, where millions had gathered to see the vessels that had saved their world. Captain Kim and her crew stepped out to thunderous cheers. World leaders waited to greet them. There were no separate nations in that moment, just Earth, united by survival. President Choi of South Korea stepped forward. "Today marks a new chapter in human history," he announced to the crowd and the billions watching on screens worldwide. "We have proven that humanity belongs among the stars." In the days that followed, Earth changed quickly. The underwater base became the headquarters for a new organization, Earth Defense Force. Nations pooled resources to build more ships based on the Thunderbolt's design. Captain Kim was promoted to Admiral Kim, leader of Earth's new space fleet. Engineer Lee became the head of a global research team, working to improve the phase drive technology. "We need at least 50 ships ready within a year," Admiral Kim told Earth's leaders at their first planning meeting. "The Kildarians will return, probably with a much larger force." But something unexpected happened before the year ended. Communication signals began arriving from distant stars. They came from worlds under Kildarian control, planets inspired by Earth's victory. "We saw what you did," said the message from a planet called Rigel 6. "We have suffered under Kildarian rule for 3 centuries. Now we fight for our freedom too." Similar messages came from dozens of worlds. Some had already overthrown their Kildarian governors. Others were planning rebellions. All wanted alliance with Earth. "They see us as leaders," said President Choi during an emergency meeting. Admiral Kim nodded. "The Kildarians created their own worst problem. By controlling so many worlds, they now face rebellion everywhere." Earth began sharing its phase drive technology with these worlds. Ships from distant planets arrived at Earth, carrying representatives seeking knowledge and alliance. 1 year after the battle, Earth launched its first diplomatic mission to other star systems. The Thunderbolt, now upgraded and improved, led a fleet of 15 new vessels. Admiral Kim commanded the mission personally. As they prepared to depart, she gathered her crew on the bridge. "When we started this journey, we just wanted to protect our world," she told them. "Now we're helping create a new alliance of free planets." The Thunderbolt activated its phase drive, shimmering slightly as it prepared to break free of Earth's gravity. "The Kildarian Empire still exists," Admiral Kim continued. "They control thousands of worlds, but that number grows smaller each day, and our alliance grows stronger." The Earth fleet rose into space, heading for the stars. On the ground, millions watched them go. For the first time, humans were traveling to other solar systems not as explorers or refugees, but as equals, even leaders, in the galactic community. Far away, on Keldar Prime, the Imperial Council faced a crisis. 20% of their empire had already rebelled. Their fleets were spread thin trying to maintain control. "It all started with one planet," said an angry council member. "One planet we thought was primitive." The head counselor looked at the star map showing their shrinking empire. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we should reconsider our approach to newly discovered worlds." Humanity had changed the galaxy forever, and it had all started with one ship, hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean, that no one expected to win. The end.